Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Prepper Chicks After Dark. It is Tuesday, August the 19th, 2014, and I am in the middle of one hellacious storm right now. So, lightning and, thunder and tornadoes and all that loveliness. So, if you lose just me, which is normal, just don't panic. I have two very talented guests on with me tonight who are going to rock it out anyway, so no worries there. First of all, welcome everybody in the chat room. Looks like we have a full house tonight, which is awesome. Get your wickedness on, get your Google fingers ready, because I'm feeling a little bit like a giveaway. So, halfway through the show, I'll ask a couple questions, and you have to give me the correct answer first. And I'm feeling like I'm going to give away a copy of my book, which just came out yesterday, Alpha Farm. And maybe we can sweet talk some of our guests into maybe contributing too. We'll see how that goes. But with me tonight to play some conflicted, or in other words, what would you do if something happened, which is an awesome deck of cards to have. If you don't have it, go to survivallogics.com. It's 52 cards. Each card has a question on it that will test your morals and your ethics. So there's 3 decks out now. 2 of the original Conflicted. 1 with G. Michael stuff on it from his book, which is awesome. Still waiting for mine, but we'll see what happens there. But make sure you get a deck. We're going to wing it tonight because I'm going to pull some questions and go from there. So tonight, first with me, the one, the only Kat. If you don't know who she is the Herbal Prepper, and she is beyond awesome. So, Kat, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
So, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, who you are, where you're from, how they can find you, and what you're drinking tonight.
All right. Well, unfortunately, it's not bourbon because we don't have any in the house, but some coffee is substituting for that right now. I'm Kat Ellis. I'm an herbalist in southeastern Massachusetts, sometimes in Maine, depending on where I'm at. And I'm an herbalist by trade, but we got into prepping when my husband got laid off back in 2008. And when that happened, it was more of like a homesteading kind of vibe, but it kind of morphed into a preparedness thing. We began to just sort of see just how vulnerable all these various systems were that we thought were going to be in place, just because we were the people that we always paid into the system. We never thought that we would ever be, in that position. And as it turned out, every single thing that we thought would be there as a fallback turned out not to be. And, we had to sort of pull through just on our own, and we did. And, it was an eye-opening experience, and I'm glad it happened then rather than, because we know that another crash is coming, but I think it'll be a lot worse now. So it was probably one of those things where my herbal side and my prepper side were eventually going to come together. And so my mission is to teach as many people as possible the safe use of herbal remedies for good times or bad.
Fantastic. And they can find you
on herbalprepper.com.
And you have your own podcast.
Yes, I do. On prepperbroadcasting.com on Sunday nights, I have a live show at 7 o'clock. And then on Just Measures Radio, justmeasures.com, I co-host the Medic Shack with Chuck Hudson, who is a former combat medic. He's also been an EMT and done and he's a firearms instructor, done a lot of other cool things. And I usually, then on Thursdays there's another, I have a pre-recorded show. It's not a live show, but a recorded show that's also on Prepper Broadcasting, Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Awesome. Good bunch of folks over there. And we got picked up by them. And Jules is going to be a big help in getting the word out about UCY when we get over there, too. So, big happy birthday, 2nd anniversary for UCY. I'm not going to sing, so you guys are shit out of luck there. Just be blessed in the fact that that isn't going to happen. But looks like we're going to stay on the East Coast tonight, up in the New England area.
Yeah.
And, Kat has a lot of herbal knowledge, naturopathic, real medicine, what we began with in this life, as opposed to what we get force-fed nowadays when you go to the doctor. So, to counterbalance her to a degree, we have one of my new favorite authors that I came across and got hooked really bad in a really bad kind of way. So I just finished reading the Jakarta Pandemic, and if you haven't read it yet, pick it up and grab it, and I'll let him introduce himself. But phenomenal writer, lots of information, and the nice thing is he puts a lot of prepper information in his books, which is even better. So. The one, the only, way up past his bedtime tonight. We've been pimping his ass out all over UCY all day today. He started with me at 8 o'clock this morning. Steve Cancoli, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking water at this point. So, I'm just trying to clear my system out and prepare for bedtime, because no matter what I do, my body's going to wake me up at 4 in the morning. So, yeah, it'll be good. I'll go back to sleep. Anyways, well, thanks for that wonderful introduction. And it's awesome to be here, my third hour on UCY TV. So this is fantastic. I could make a living. I could do this.
He's taking
more
over.
Frequently. Yeah, not really. Anyways, way past my bedtime is right. I can't be held responsible for whatever I say tonight. I hear it gets a little punchy during the show, so that sounds like fun.
What does that mean? Wait a minute. Who said we get punchy?
You did. I think you said
I?
earlier. Yeah, you said it can get a little heated. So.
Oh yeah, it can sometimes.
Cool.
But you guys ready?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Oh.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Steve, did you tell people where they can find you or drop your links in the chat room or anything?
Yeah, you can't find me. No. Yes. I'll drop them in. I'll drop them in there because no one here is going to remember how to spell my name. And get to my website. But you can find all my books and all that stuff in audiobook format. Every format there is on there. So I'll let you move us along.
Okay. So we are ready to go. So first question. You are in the middle of a downgrade situation. Doesn't matter which one it is, but your local law enforcement officers, if you can call them that, have flipped the coin, and it's questionable whether they're ethical anymore or not. Something happens, and they remove your spouse from your premise. The question is, would you go after them? Would you go after your spouse to rescue them? So, Kat, what do you think?
Oh, I'm going. I don't even have to think about that. That's oh no. That you may as well cut my heart out. They expect me to stay behind. I will pick my time to go. I will pick the method, and I'll have a plan to go. But I'm not going to leave him. At their mercy. Not happening. And the thing is, I'd be expecting him to try to be breaking free, and if it were in the reverse, he would know that I'd be trying to get out, and I'd be expecting him to come for me too. So you may as well cut off an arm of mine than to leave him behind.
Curveball. What if you have small children? Would you still leave?
I do have small children. I would secure them first. I have a backup plan, to make sure that they are, secured. Let's just say, but I couldn't, in good conscience, just leave them there.
But could you, in good conscience, leave your children with the possibility of having neither parent? And silence.
Tough one.
I think I probably would, because the alternative then is to the alternative is to do nothing. That's not in my nature. I'm not a do nothing kind of person. Like I said, I'd pick my time. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be rushing in without having a plan. But by the same token, I wouldn't want to be looking at them later on, years down the road, and have them say, "Why didn't you do anything?" That was our dad. Why didn't you do something? So, yeah.
I have talked to a few females that have been raped before. And, of course, you see in the media a lot about how sometimes they preach the fact that, don't put up a fight. Just do it, get it over with, and move on. At least you have your life. These females that I talked to have lived with the fact that they did not fight. And we sometimes don't teach our daughters, or our children for that matter, to fight anymore. And I think it's very important. Unfortunately, it's left a lot of undesirables out there with the ability to do whatever they want to, knowing that a lot of our population now is not going to stand up for what they believe in or fight. So, Steve.
Yes.
What do you think you would do?
Well, I would. I have small children. Well, they're 11 and 14. So, I would definitely go after my wife. Depending on what kind of day we had. No, I'm kidding. No.
Oh, smack!
Just kidding.
She's asleep right now.
I have to ask. What did you do to get taken away? No, I would definitely go after her. I mean, my wife. We have an incredibly. You like that? You caught it. We have an incredibly strong bond, I walk talk the talk and walk the walk in front of the kids. I agree. I mean, I would want them to see me doing everything I can possibly. With that in mind, I'm a very pragmatic person. So if it's an impossible situation, I'm not going to throw myself, to the wolves. If there's just no way I can rectify that situation, and like you said, put them in a situation where they have lost both parents for whatever reason. So I like the plotting and planning. I think we have a lot in common there.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm assuming here, and if I'm wrong, just let me know. But I'm assuming that both of you have a group of people around you that. Maybe not call them your prepping group, but your little clique that if something does go wrong, you've talked to them, you've talked about different things to do, that kind of stuff. Would you feel comfortable talking to them about them going after your spouse instead of you? Kat?
And
would they have your back to that degree?
Oh, I've got a couple of people who would, but I've got a couple of really close friends that, they may as well be blood and not just friends. But having them go after him instead of me. I think it would depend on who has the better chance of getting through the situation. I think there are some situations where perhaps maybe a woman might be able to get a little further than a man might be a little disarming. I think it would depend on whatever the best strategy was for getting him out.
Do you think, because, that would be taboo to send a female in. Do you think there are circumstances or survival techniques that a female has the upper hand as opposed to a male?
I think that there's sort of there's still sort of this idea that, women are, we're not really fighters. We're not, we're not the threat. It doesn't matter if, I think that's probably changing, but I think, depending on circumstances, of course, I think that a woman might be able to charm their way, in certain circumstances. might be able to at least get some information anyway. Assuming they didn't, assuming they didn't know.
I'm thinking,
some intel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking in certain situations, it's like, and I'm going to use this term, a group of gay guys.
Okay.
We would stand no chance at all. But would they actually? Would we need to even go that route? We just,
It's the gay mutant biker cops. Is that what we're?
I don't think I've seen any of those lately.
Well, I don't know. Then I think I would probably break out into show tunes and try to entertain them while someone else goes get themselves.
And disclaimer, I have a lot of people in my life that I absolutely adore. So don't get offended when I say that, because well, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think that would be a completely different dynamic of people, though. I suppose that my husband could also be captured by a bunch of, female law enforcement too, where those, charming tactics may not work either. So, but I think that, in general, though, people still have this perception that women are not necessarily the threat. When you see a woman coming, you don't necessarily, like if you're walking down the street late at night and you have a woman walking towards you, you're not necessarily automatically thinking, oh, I think she's going to jump me. I think she's going to try and take my purse or something. You don't necessarily think that, but that doesn't mean it can't happen.
Yeah, because Princess with a Gun is in the chat room right now, and she's about Have you seen her in her leather outfit? There's a whole other conversation again.
Well, that's very different. But I think it's just sort of a stereotype, which people wouldn't necessarily know. That well, I guess anyone who's listening to my show knows that if you see me, then you need to assume that I'm armed. And my husband is training to teach Krav Maga, and he teaches me, and I'm trying to do my best to be a force to be reckoned with if that were ever to be needed. But I know there's a lot of other women out there doing that, but I think that the perception is just that we're not quite that aggressive. We're not that much of a threat. So
yeah, very docile, but I congratulate you on taking that personal responsibility seriously too. So
oh, yeah, and my son's in karate, and as soon as my daughter is age eligible, she's going to be doing that, and right on, and as they're age appropriate, if I can add another level of self-defense or training in there, then absolutely
awesome.
It's cool.
Steve, what do you think?
I always look at it this way, like, I don't like to change other kids' diapers, and I don't think anyone else, like, it's kind of goes along that line of, no one will be as committed to the effort as blood. And, there's just that, once again, that bond. I have some very good friends, and, we don't live near family here, so, I couldn't really lean on, someone in that way. So I wouldn't trust anyone else to
really
carry it all the way through. Yeah.
I'm quite the opposite. I would trust people that I have invited into my life way more than I would some of my family.
Yeah, you're touching on a whole other issue here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking like, right here in my immediate family, because I don't know. I just always, I always feel that way. I would do anything to defend another family's child, but if I had to choose between my own and another, it's just natural that you're going to go that way. So if you get yourself in a situation, going after, say, my wife, trying to recover her, and things get to a point where they realize they may not come back from this, I would question whether the commitment would be, at where it needed to be. That's my thought on that.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to the next question. And this will be right up both of your alleys, quite honestly. So it's always, whenever there's a downgrade situation, the first thing in everyone's head is, we need to protect ourselves, we need to get a gun, we need to be prepared, that kind of thing. But it's a proven fact that in a situation like that, you're more likely to die from diarrhea than a gunshot wound. So if we had a pandemic, hospitals, you're not even going to be able to touch, let alone get some good medical care, unless you've prepared ahead of time. So name several ways that you could prepare in advance, and some safety precautions that you could take to lessen the chances of anyone in your group, your immediate group, coming down with some kind of pandemic. Kat, what do you think?
Well, actually, did a show where I looked at what would happen with something like cholera and some of the other water, contaminated water kinds of things. So I'm just looking for those show notes here because I might be able to bring those up. But anyway, there are herbs that could help with things like cholera or something. There was Giardia was the other one. And oh geez, what was the other one I looked at? I'm gonna have to look. I've got to look up my notes because this was. It's not something that I typically have. Like I don't see cholera in my herbal practice every day, But there are herbs that you can take to help treat that, along with let me see, some of the other things that you would end up having to deal with would be like typhoid or typhus. I believe that would be an issue as well. If water is really crucial, you need to be able to secure your water. In the city where we live, I have a Berkey, and that's about it. Except for rainwater catching, I could put that into place relatively, quickly if I had to. We're on city water where we are, so if that became contaminated, all I got is that Berkey. But out at our cabin, that's a little different. There's a well involved, and you want to be able to make sure that you've got clean water. That's crucial. Let's see here.
No, but from what I understand, a Berkey won't solve all water problems.
No, it won't. No, it won't. That's like a stopgap measure that I have for for right now. But water is a tricky thing. It's especially when you start seeing like all of these water emergencies around.
The one in West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. That just
Toledo. There's one right now, I think, in where was that one? I just posted it a little while ago. Out west. I want to say Nevada, maybe. Not that California doesn't have any water right now to even worry about.
Well, there's that end of it too.
Yeah, but those situations like Toledo with the bacteria that was in the water from Lake Erie cannot be cured with a Berkey. You can't cure it either with boiling water and expect yourself to be able to drink it. So you need to learn lots of different techniques to be able to catch water and purify it. But Steve, what do you think? You're the pandemic fiction writer galore here. What do you think?
So yeah, I'll jump into Kat's world really quickly, and I'd love to hear her thoughts when I'm done. I think obviously a lot of these. Some of these diseases, just their mechanism is such that your immune system, building up your immune system won't exactly help. Although I believe that always is a factor. So I think you should have a good supply of immunity boosting types of vitamins. We talked earlier today about oregano and elderberry syrup. There's probably a dozen other things similar to that you could have, and those have other properties as well: disinfectant, antiviral, antibacterial. They kind of, I think oregano has. It seems like it has a billion different uses, potentially. So I think that's a key aspect in that. And then just the simple stuff, I stress quarantine. You have to be prepared to seriously quarantine yourself and keep yourself away from other people. The water issue, that's been that's been covered, and that's a difficult enough aspect. We keep about 40 gallons of water, in plastic, just the bins as a stopgap measure, but that's just temporary to keep us from making any really bad decisions, in a desperate times before we kind of get other systems in place to purify water. But yeah, I think having the masks and gloves to reinforce your quarantine if you do have to kind of go out, and basic first aid meds like cold fever, disinfectant stuff. You don't want to have to leave the house, during a pandemic or any kind of an outbreak situation. So those are kind of the basics I would cover.
Yeah. If there's a pandemic coming, if that's the emergency, you need to be able to take care. I mean, don't go to the hospital if there's something that you can handle at home. I mean, I'm not saying if your arm got cut off, well, you probably can't handle that at home. But if there are a wide range of scenarios that you would have to handle at home, rather than there could be some serious things you need to handle at home too, because if it's a pandemic at the hospital that ends up, let's say, shutting the hospital down, they become overwhelmed, or the healthcare workers become sick. Now there's nobody to take care of anyone. Then you may have to deal with more of the more serious issues than just your average first aid. Let me see here. I covered
chronic medications are really important.
Well, there's that too, because you don't want to be at the pharmacy trying to fight with other people too, and that's the last place that you want to be. With the hospital or the pharmacy, your doctor's office during a pandemic. If you can avoid that would just be swell. You could certainly stock up on herbs. I think herbs are great because most people cannot. When you get all your prepping stuff together, you can get a reloading machine, and you can reload some of your ammo. You can there's lots of things that you can do and make on your own, but most people do not have the equipment or the knowledge to, let's say, put a laboratory in their basement, and whip up a batch of Cipro. That's not going to happen.
No.
But you may be able to do things like, depending where you are in the country, you might be able to grow barberry or golden seal or Oregon grapefruit, and all of those have an action on cholera, as well as Giardia and Shigella, and let me see, what else works on cholera? Cloves, that'll work on cholera and parasites. Black walnut has tannins, it's a natural source of iodide too, but that's also effective on things like any kind of parasite. And let's see, things like milk thistle you'd want to have on hand, because that'll actually keep your liver alive, even if you're getting desperate and you go out and you eat mushrooms that you shouldn't be eating. It'll actually keep your liver alive, even if you've eaten death cap mushroom. So that's something that you might want to have on hand. Something like peppermint you could have on hand also, because it helps to relax the stomach a bit, and
So we said when we're
it'll calm down some of that. What's that?
We can't run around saying, "Oh my liver, oh my liver."
No, you can't run around saying that, because now I've just given you the remedy for it. No, but I mean, obviously, if you're at that point, you're going to be in pain. But there are things that you can have on hand if you know ahead of time. Hey, look, it's likely that cholera will be going around. It's likely that we're going to cold and flu season, so you want to have elderberry tincture or elderberry syrup put aside. And I say that, and you can go on to PubMed.gov and you can look up the studies that are there, and come up with that, draw your own conclusions, but it can shorten the duration of a flu more effectively than Tamiflu. I mean, it's you can take it daily as a preventative, but if you don't have a huge stock of it to just be taking every day, then then you could just take it, once you get sick. Licorice is a very potent antiviral, and it's, effective for things, like rotavirus, which, is miserable. Let me see. But when you use licorice, it's usually used as a synergist with other antivirals. A synergist would be, when you blend herbs together, and the end result ends up being more effective than if you took the individual herbs on their own. So other things that you'd want to have around, especially for any of these intestinal things, would be something like marshmallow root, because it's very soothing to the mucosa. It's very soothing to your intestine, because your intestine's going through some pretty nasty stuff. I'd probably also want to have something like activated charcoal on hand too.
Yeah, I have that. Yeah, already.
Yeah, that's definitely the first sign of, because honestly, when you start to come down with these intestinal things, if it's SHTF situation, you're not going to have a lab to find out what problem you have. So you're kind of guessing. It's like, well, what are the symptoms? Well, vomiting, diarrhea, horrible intestinal cramping. That could be 1,000 things. So,
True.
Have some, herbal antibiotics on hand, herbal antivirals, some antiprotozoans, and, put them all together in a tincture together, and just take that. And that's, to me, the simplest thing to do. And then my stomach is the word I'm trying to think of it. I can't come up with the word. But my stomach is not happy. I'm going to take this.
Or it could be just the beans and rice that you've been eating for 3 weeks too.
Well, that's a whole other, yeah.
All right, we are.
Something put in your food.
Yeah.
Could be
And a lot of people don't understand that either when they're going to be on beans and rice, what it's going to do to their body, and oh my God, they're going to die, and it's like, no, it's just because your diet changed that bad.
No, I know. I mean, like, we've done practice bug outs where we got the bucket of emergency food. Like, let's just see what that really is like if you have to live on that. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Well, Steve, you probably lived on MREs for a while. You like the taste of them?
They're delicious, actually. The new ones, holy cow! They're like gourmet meals compared to some of that dehydrated stuff.
I was going to say, how bad are they going to suck the water out of your body?
No, yeah. But they, I'll tell you what, you won't be visiting the toilet for about 3 days once you start eating MREs. It kind of blocks you up pretty tight. So, we always like that in the field because, it kind of delayed the inevitable.
So we've had our nightly poop talk there, but we are a little past halfway through the hour. So it's a birthday show. So why don't we give some things away? And I had promised my guys on my page that I'd give a copy of my book away. So while I'm dealing with them for here just a split second, are you guys up for something?
Yeah.
Okay, think of a question that you can ask, because these guys have really, really fast Google fingers going on here. So here's my question, and then we'll go to Steve. Here's my question. So everybody ready? Pay attention in the chat room. So a lot of you have listened to me ramble on for a while now, over a year now. What is my most important prep? Now, we've talked about, you got to have water prep, you got to have food preps, you got to have medicine preps, you got to be, security preps, all of those things all wrapped into one. And I've said this multiple times. To me, what do I think is the most important prep that there is? So I'll pay attention in the chat room. First one that gives me the answer gets an autographed copy of my book, Alpha Farm. as soon as somebody gets it. I think they all died or something. They're all so quiet. No, that's usually a good sign. Nope, not hygiene, Frog. I'll keep paying attention. Steve, did you come up with something? What do you want to do?
Sure, I'll kind of stick with the pandemic theme here. This one will be pretty easy for everyone. So, what is the current suspected case death count of Ebola virus?
Ooh, that's a good Google question. Do you want to repeat it one more time?
What is the current suspected case death count in the current Ebola outbreak in West Africa?
Okay, not medical. And Steve, what will you give the person that gets the answer first?
Signed copy of the Jakarta pandemic.
Oh, you guys are going to love it too. It's awesome. Kat, do you want to jump in on the bandwagon?
Sure, here. My question is, what are the signs or symptoms of inflammation? How would you recognize inflammation?
Okay.
And I will give away. I've got an antibiotic tincture I can give away.
Okay. All right. Okay. Looks like G. Michael gets a free copy, a signed autographed copy of Stephen's book, The Jakarta Pandemic. Awesome. Hello. There's other people out here that you guys can guess. What's my most important prep here, guys? You don't have to suck up to the guest. Hello. Anyways, we'll let them continue on here. Kat, you get a couple answers for inflammation.
Okay. Well, I should say there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 4 or 5 answers, so you gotta get at least 4 out of the 5.
Oh, we're passing gifts around here. Okay, while they're doing that and we're paying attention, let's see how we can multitask right now. So, the next question, I kind of, Steve might have a little hand up on that because I asked it this morning. So, we talk about preparedness and all of the possibilities out there. And Degreaser, you get my prep. So, Degreaser, the mindset is, to me, the most important segment of preparedness. So, Degreaser, you want to shoot me your address? You can shoot it to properchicks@yahoo.com, and I'll get that out to you. Congratulations. Okay, we'll keep going. So, we talk about everything in the news, and people are starting a little bit freaking out. It's getting a little rough out there when you start gathering all the news together. There was news about ISIS this morning, or today. Ebola is in the news, Yellowstone, earthquakes all over the place, tornadoes, hurricanes, water contamination, just a plethora of things. So, to you, what is the thing that you fear the most? So, Steve, I'll let you go first since...
Yeah, so we did cover this. We did cover this earlier. So I always talk about the survive what your survive what scenario, which is the most likely thing to happen. So I'll just start with that, but I'll get into the fear thing. So I don't focus on these kind of the more exotic stuff that might happen. Kind of looking at like you have there tornadoes. Those are the biggest fears. And for here, it's, a major storm, loss of power for, up to 2 weeks, especially in the middle of the winter. But like my biggest fear that joins every single one of these possible disaster scenarios is being separated from my kids, or my wife. Both. She's definitely more capable, but it's the kids that really worries me. Having them in school when, say the power just went out. And no explanation, no idea what's going on, or I live on the coast, so we could have a tsunami alarm. We have a tsunami alert system here that could suddenly activate, and I'm not with them. So that's a real big. That's like my biggest kind of like visceral gut fear, and it's one of the biggest areas that we kind of work on, as a family, talking about that stuff. But like I admitted to you earlier, it's not as strong. I'm not as strong in that category as I'd like to be. It's something I'm working on.
Gotcha, because your focus will be taken off of survival. I mean, you're going to be focused on getting your unit back together.
Right, and that's you said it exactly. First priority, getting everyone together, and then deciding what the next course of action is going to be.
And the sad thing is, a lot of people out there, I know you're working on it, but they don't have a plan. You know, they don't want to talk to their kids about what's going on out there, because they're afraid that it's going to scare them. But reality is, quite honestly, there needs to be some degree of conversation. It doesn't have to necessarily scare them. I mean, they do tornado drills and things like that in the schools now, so it's not out of the realm of reality to have those conversations with. How old do you think a child needs to be before you start going further?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do it. It's like a G. Michael. Did you see his fear? Daughter listening to Justin Bieber. Sorry, I missed that one.
That is a cause to be afraid.
Oh, good heavens! Yeah, yeah. No, I don't. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I think every child is different. You kind of see the point where they start to get stuff. I mean, I'm trying to think where it was with my son. He's kind of one of those. He's a very cerebral kid. Earlier, my daughter. You could have a serious talk about her, and she'll just like look at you listening, and then suddenly like, so are you going to watch the latest episode of this with me? I'm like, is she even listening? I'm like, okay, but she is getting it. It's so funny. Everyone acts different, but I think you got to gauge. I think you have to gauge that. At what point, can they really take it on? We're not worried about scaring our kids. It's a scary world. I let my son. If he watches. He'll watch Lone Survivor. I don't let him watch all the war movies he wants. I want him to see what's really out there so he can make an informed decision about what he's going to do, when he decides to enter the world. So we kind of don't sugarcoat that stuff or kind of, ease them into that. So yeah, sorry I didn't really solidly answer your question.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I think a lot of us agree with that. Even when I'm at work, your focus is not always on your job. It's, are my kids home from school? Is everything okay?
Yep.
What are they doing in school? Who's mistreating them? Those kind of things, because you just want to be there all the time to protect them. As a parent, that's what we do. Yep. Kat, what's your biggest fear?
Oh, well, that's at the top of the list. There is being separated from my family members, my husband, my kids. That would send me into well, I don't want to say into a panic, but that would be it would be mission number one to get to them. As far as crises in the world, well, Yellowstone's pretty frightening to me, just because that's just scary. That's the stuff of nightmares right there. Am I walking around afraid of that every day? No, not really. But the things that concern me are they are the border crossings coming up, where we really don't know who's coming across that border. We know that there's some illnesses that are coming over, but there's not a lot of transparency. We know that there are gang members coming over, and we don't really know where they end up at. We don't really know what percentage of the people coming over are the little kids, or are the 17-year-olds who already have a criminal history. We don't know. There's no transparency, and then we know that they're being redistributed around the country, sort of like a farmer just scattering seeds over a field.
Yeah, can you imagine some of these kids, or whomever, I see my air quotes again, were sent to Alaska. Can you imagine living your entire life in Central America, and the next thing you know, you're in Alaska?
Or something. I know. It's like, what on earth are they?
Oh, well, we don't need to go.
That's a culture shock. Yeah. But I know that Massachusetts, we had gotten we were one of the first states. We got a couple of it was a plane that came in with a bunch of them, and they flew into Hanscom Air Force Base, and yeah, it was a big deny, that never happened, and all of a sudden, boom, then like the governor is like admitting, yeah, that happened, and the thing is that when you don't know, I mean, there are reports of tuberculosis and chickenpox, which I don't mind the chickenpox thing. I'd be thrilled if my kids got chickenpox now as a kid, where they had a decent case of it and were over it. I'm sorry, chickenpox does not frighten me.
No,
I had
I agree. I think it's just a fair tactic to get
almost everybody had gone 2 weeks. Well, as I understand, when the vaccine for that came out, what I had heard was that this was primarily so that now that we have families with two parents at work, that one parent doesn't have to stay home, especially if you've got multiple kids, because if it's like 2 weeks for them to be over their contagious period and their itchiness, and then the next kid would get it, that's another 2 weeks. You could have someone out of work for a month, 6 weeks, who has that kind of time anymore? So that's what I'd heard. I don't know how true that is, but chickenpox just does not freak me out until you become an adult, and then it's serious. And there are, I know people who've had the vaccine, who've had 2 courses of it, and they still ended up getting.
All right, so here's your next question.
Yeah.
A nuclear bomb has exploded while your spouse is away from home. Not in your town, obviously, but you can see it go off, but you're far enough away that it's not the sheer of it's not going to impact you. But your spouse was away from home. They end up making it back to your house, but there's a very good chance they were exposed to the fallout radiation from the event. What steps would you take to ensure their safety within your group itself, including your small children, to the threat of nuclear radiation exposure from your spouse? And are you willing to turn your spouse away if you have to? So, Stephen, what do you think?
I don't know anything about radiation. No.
I beg to differ with you.
I really don't. No. Geez,
Let's talk about what's in your basement.
Yeah, no, that's no. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm writing that down. That's I love to identify areas where I'm not as knowledgeable. So I'll admit that. So I'll answer the last part first. I mean, turning her away, if I was convinced that she could get the care that she really needed, and like I said, my knowledge is embarrassingly a little limited about this. I would consider letting her be separated from us, but that would probably be the last thing I would want to do.
Would you risk your children being contaminated by her, though?
Well, from my limited knowledge from the Navy, radiation, depending, I guess, it's not, it can be systemic, but it would be typically, you're exposed to it. So, we did rapid strip down, wash down of the ship and personnel. So, am I wrong about that? I think you can pretty much, remove all that, remove any radioactive material, but the damage is done, and that's what the real problem is. Am I right or wrong about that? I think I'm okay. Maybe some of the listeners.
As I understand it, you should be able to, assuming that she's, whoever is approaching the house, if they're not, they would, if they were exposed, they could be washed down. Then you have to deal with the illness end of things. Right. But they don't continue to be radioactive.
Right.
And then the particles then have a half-life. Anything that would be contaminated has a half-life, and ultimately this is not. They're not a nuclear generator themselves. So
right.
And that's why I think if you can have.
And that's why it's very important to have a room separate, like an entryway or a garage or someplace where they can take all their clothes off and get naked. And have the ability to wash everything off of them from head to foot, head to toe. And and all of that loveliness, and then dispose of the clothes appropriately.
Right. Good. Well, I'm glad I wasn't too far off on that.
Yeah, so just stay outside for a minute. I'll let you get the garden hose.
Yeah. Stay in the mud. We have a mudroom with
I'm
a
getting the hose.
shower.
Exactly. I was hosed down quite a bit when I was a kid.
That's something to think about, like when you're designing a house, because we have our cabin that's up in Maine, but we're building a house there. It's like, now, maybe in the entryway there should be a shower that I could just put in. You know, people will be like, "What's that?" No, don't mind that. Don't worry about that. Just a random shower in the doorway.
You just tell people. Yeah, we added a shower into our mudroom bathroom. We just it's for the in-laws. We like to contain them in there. We practice pandemic with them.
Gramps needs his alone time.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to fumigate the entire house, kind of thing. There we are, back on poop again.
Yeah.
That's funny. And our storm keeps going on and on. So I'm still here. No tornadoes or anything, so that's a good sign. All right. So after a SHTF scenario, it would be impossible to run down to the local drugstore to pick up any kind of supplies. Your 13-year-old daughter walks up to you and says, I started my period. Now, your wife isn't home. You're by yourself. What are you going to do?
Freshwater washdown. I don't know.
There's the hose again.
We're getting the hose again.
This shower is coming in handy. I can tell you that.
Do you have alternatives?
I would have to dig around my wife's supplies. I have seen some spares.
You've seen things? They're not plugging bullet holes?
Yes, I've seen some spares floating around the house. I know where to find them. So I think we could take care of the issue until my wife got back.
Do you think
or I can dig into it.
In the man's world, that is one of those things that they just don't want to even think about?
You have to. I mean, it's probably. It absolutely probably is. I mean, I'm even kind of squeamish from like those things around the house. But it's it's once again you have to be able to talk about it and think about it because you may be the one who's leading that show.
What if you're
helping them out?
So curveball, you're not at home anymore. Your wife isn't with you. You're on the run. It's a bug out situation. You have limited supplies in your bug out bag. And now what are you going to do?
I mean, are we? I get graphic. When we get crazy. I mean, it's not a. So we're not talking about a medical condition. So
no, it's not life or death.
Right. So I mean, we're talking about once again containment, right? So I think we could fashion something from the kit to help ease that 4 to 7 day period or however long it lasts.
Do you think that's something that everybody needs to look at their bug out bag to make sure, especially when they have females in their household?
Yep, I'm making a note. It's taking up half of my notebook page right now.
You're gonna tell your wife, go get tampons.
And then,
lots and lots of them.
Yeah, she's gonna be like, why is half the bag dedicated to food?
Because
the other half is.
Lori freaked me out last night.
Yep.
And I don't want to think about this ever again.
No,
that's gonna cover that. My daughter can just carry her weight in hygiene products.
There you go, Kat. What do you think?
Well, in my large medic bag, I have pads because they're great for absorbing blood if you have a wound. So that's one thing. But actually, I have cloth pads that I use for myself and that I would give to my daughter because they are healthier than having those bleached products next to you. You have fewer complaints with the pains and symptoms with associated with PMS and with menstruation. And ultimately, if this were to be a long-term crisis, then this is just a matter of washing them again. And the only thing would be you have to be able to wash them, but you're not going to be able to just run to the drugstore and buy another package of them. So there are plenty of places that sell these flannel pads, and they're very easy to take care of. So that's what I have for myself, and I've never looked back since I started using those. And I know I've just gotten very intimate with like a whole bunch of people telling me doing this, but I would give my daughter that. I would actually be the one saving the actual commercially made menstrual pads and tampons for like bullet wounds and lacerations, but
Gotcha. We are down to the last couple minutes, so we need to get off this topic because some of the guys in the chat room are getting a little squirrely on me. We'll have to do an all-female show one night.
See, now my husband would be like completely unfazed.
Now, Steve, that was funny. To say, hey, I'm glad you're not pregnant.
Yeah, there you go.
So
the glass is half full.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. So, why don't you, Steve, tell everybody where they can find you, about your books a little bit, and drop your link for your website in the chat room for everyone.
Yep, I'll pop it in. So you can find all my stuff, my blog posts, links to other authors, all kinds of good stuff at StephenConkley.com, and I'll pop it on here, so you can know how to spell it. And I respond to reader emails. It might take me a day or two, depending on how busy I am writing, but I love to hear from everyone. So if you read my books and want to talk about them or just anything, give me a shout.
Yeah, the Jakarta Pandemic is an awesome book, and like I said before, a lot of preparedness information in it that will make you stop and think about situations that you might not have thought about before, which is why I love these kind of books. I think people need to keep writing them to open up people's thought processes to, hey, our only option is a FEMA camp. No, it's not. But excellent book, and can't wait to get through some more of them because I plan on doing every single one of them. So
tons of prepper stuff in the other books too.
Yeah, you have a prepper book actually coming out here soon.
Yeah, end of August or early September, kind of essay style on every topic. It'll be cool.